take us through some of the sentiment that's floating around at the moment, where we've had President Goodluck Jonathan finally put pen to paper. Oladele, can you hear me over on that end?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Let's run through some of the sentiment that's currently afloat in the Nigerian market scene, where we've just seen President Goodluck Jonathan finally put a pen to paper.
The bill, yes, as we all know, was signed into law yesterday. Unfortunately, it came to, it was signed after the market had closed, so such market cannot react to it. But I would say it's actually a welcome development. We've all been waiting for this. I want to say it's a tonic that the market has actually been waiting for, and we expect the market to react positively to the bill being signed into law. But I will quickly say at this point that that is the political order that has been crossed by AMCON. Market is actually interested, importantly, in the operational model, how this company will run, on what basis, what will be the valuation model that that AMCON will actually use in taking up these assets that we're talking about, who will be running AMCON. All these things are very, very important decisions that CBN and Ministry of Finance must take, and the market actually is waiting for them to take this decision, and that will show clearly the direction that AMCON will go.
For now, the assumption is that it's going to be taking off bad loans off these banks' books, and they're more likely to resume lending again in Africa's most populous country, where credit has been tight, of course, ever since this cleanup process has begun. What are you anticipating in that regard?
Yes, that is the ultimate goal behind AMCON. We expect, yes, the fund to actually be injected into the banking system, and we expect this to actually free lots of liquidity to provide banks with the required liquidity to resume lending. Yes, this is the objective. But let me say this. Objective is actually different from reality. Yeah. After this, the injection, and it's achieved. The market is actually waiting to see the banks resume lending as expected. Because let's look at it this way: CBN is planning to inject the fund. They are going to issue, bonds on the back of this, and the question is who will invest in these bonds. Is the same banks. We just need to be careful here that it's not going to be giving with the right hand and taking it back with the left. So all these things, we need to work it out and see how the objective behind AMCON will actually be achieved.
As the governor was saying in that earlier insert that we played, he highlighted that if these banks continue to remain undercapitalized once those bad loans have already been absorbed, they will possibly look at injecting more funds to sustain those businesses moving forward. They would likely take up shares in those respective banks if needs be. What's your view on that?
Personally, I would say it's just it's a case of preparing the ground for for merger and acquisition, as it were. A couple of days ago, CBN actually came out, giving the shareholders in these banks, in these affected banks, the opportunity to recapitalize their banks. But you and I know that, okay, good, with the current level of funding as available to an average shareholder in most of these banks, they are likely not going to be in the position to inject required funds. And more so, they have made it very clear that the previous owner will not be allowed to participate or, to continue to have controlling shares. So by and large, that will kind of limit the level at which the current shareholders can participate. And if AMCON can invest and inject funds in exchange for shares, so I want to believe, yes, AMCON will do this, and that will actually prepare a good ground for AMCON to hand over some of these banks to interested, investors. Especially the banks that are, looking to take over some of these banks. And yes, and let me quickly put it this way: I think it's a good thing for the economy because we are going to see new investors, injecting fresh capital into these banks, bringing expertise and running the banks the way it should be run. I think it's actually a good move, preparing for M&A opportunities in these banks.
Well, of course, that's M&A activity not only pertaining to local banks, local healthy banks wanting to take over, but a lot of interest from foreign banks as well being displayed. We know that some interest has been shown by quite a few of South Africa's banks as well. So we wait with bated breath for some activity to emerge on that front. In the meantime, Oladele, let's take a look at the trading day ahead and the kind of activity you're anticipating within the banking space today.
Interestingly, as I said earlier, the announcement of the bill being signed came after the market had closed yesterday. Today, we actually expect the market to react positively. More importantly, in the banking sector, as it affects the bailout banks, I want to see the, speculators coming in right now to take advantage of, by investing in these banks. Looking at it, yes, federal government, CBN is planning to inject funds, which actually is going to help to put these banks on a good footing, at least to make their net asset looks good. And with the M&A opportunity, fresh funds being injected by AMCON, you can be rest assured that at the end of the day, these banks will look attractive, to an interested investor. So I'm looking forward to optimists coming into the market today, and more important, especially on the, in the bank shares of these are the rescued bank, to actually try to take position while they await the further events unfolding, and this will actually have a good influence on other banks, and more importantly the entire market. So plus or minus, I expect the ASI to close up today, and market to actually experience some bullish run.
On that note, what would be a stock pick for you today? What counter specifically do you have your eye on? Among the rescued banks, I would say yes, people will actually be looking at Union Bank, because even if you put all the rescue banks together, I think it stands a very good chance. I want to believe it's one of the banks that even interested investors will be looking at closely. So I expect a positive run on Union Bank today. Afribank, Intercontinental, yes, Oceanic Bank, they will all do well today, I expect. And other banks, yes, those that have actually performed creditably well over the weeks, a couple of weeks ago, GT Bank, Zenith and First Bank, yes, we expect them to equally continue, good runs today. So by and large, yes, as I think this AMCON bill being signed will have a good, will have, as a good catalyst in the market today.